Welcome to Fun with Failure. I'm Dallas, your Jedi host. Jedi-ish. At least my wife thinks I'm like a Skywalker boy. I'm a drama queen like my father before me. We have 5 wonderful stories you will enjoy today. So let's get started. Today is not my smartest day. In fact, I would go as far to say that it was my dumbest. A bit of backstory. A few months after I got my license, my dad's car, a 2006 Pontiac Grand Prix, died, and he said if I fixed it up, I could have it. I'm sure he meant this as a jest, but being the high school senior I was, I figured, hey, if I get a car, I can sling some mad chicks. Anyway, knowing nothing about cars, I took it to the local high school shop class and had them fix it up, and all I had to do was pay for the parts. This car became my daily ride for the next 2 years, and I managed to take it from 193,000 miles to around 213,000 miles before a head gasket died. This may seem like droning on, but it's pretty important. Just stick with me. I didn't have enough to outright buy a new car, and with college around the corner, I needed to do something. So I decided to look up videos and whatnot on YouTube, and this car went from being my daily drive to being my daily driving Frankenstein as I slowly learned how to work with cars. Eventually I managed to change the head gasket in my college parking lot, a long story for another time. The repairs I put into the car ended up stacking up, and honestly, I probably could have bought a new car with the amount I spent, so I said frack it, enough is enough. I'm getting a new car with less miles and in better condition. The story is starting to pick up from here, I swear. I'll skip the whole story behind actually funding this new car, but long story short, I ditched the old GP for a 2002 Audi A4 1.8T Quattro, the insurance nightmare. It was way less mileage, and the only issues are cosmetic. Perfect. Well, little did I know the cosmetic work would be my downfall. I replaced tons of little trims and switches and whatnot to make it look as new as possible. And then came the day for me to replace the horrible looking key. I was only given one key from the dealer, and I figured that buying another key and getting it programmed is hella expensive. So I'd just get a new case and transfer all the electronics. Easy enough, right? Wrong. Wrong. Fracking wrong. I replaced the key fob for the Grand Prix, and it was as simple as putting a round peg in a square hole. Literally, an idiot could do it. But this Audi, oh curse those dang Krauts and their beautiful engineering, this fracking key fob was locked tighter than a fracking Fort Knox. This key was split into 2 parts. The top part, which contains the flip-out key, the amazing feat of the RFID chip, and the bottom contains the buttons for locking, unlocking, and opening the trunk. The bottom, while not easy, wasn't too hard. There were 2 rivets holding in the PCB that I had to, convince, but other than that, smooth sailing. The top part, however, I should have bought another key. This fracking thing would not come apart. A bit of a background for my day. I woke up at 8 a.m. to get my passport. Being spring break, I was there until 2 p.m. Also being spring break, I have to go back to college this weekend. Again, being spring break, I figured I could pack a huge ton of Audi project time in. This means I was rushing, and I shouldn't have. I should have stopped and thought about what the frack I was about to do, because I swear by all my ancestors, all my neighbors' ancestors, and all the living things in the direct area were screaming, "Don't you fracking dare, you flipping loony!" And I went on anyway. To pry open the top part, I figured it'd be a good idea to take a flathead screwdriver and hammer it into the top section seam to break it apart. Now this is where the pesky RFID chip comes in. It's a little chip that tells your car that you own it and aren't a phony with a dummy key. And it just so happens to be made of glass. Now I know beforehand which side of the chip was on, and I was avoiding it like the plague. But in my haste, I had it upside down. So, instead of my precise excavation I expected, I was instead met with a crunch. It's been a few hours, and the tears haven't dried. Now I have to find out a way to get a new key and get it programmed. Edit. I did find a local locksmith that had a spare RFID chip and fixed it. It did cost me $150, but that is a lot less than the dealer. This actually happened today. So, I was in my D&T class and we were making chocolate. Me and my friend Finn were screwing around with some of the flavor extracts. Super intense. My friend Finn drank a drop of cinnamon extract. His face went red and he cried a little. In the end, we laughed about it. Then I tried a drop of pineapple extract, which is the worst thing I've ever put in my body, and that was no big deal. But what we didn't realize was that Finn got lots of the cinnamon extract on his hands. Because we're good friends, that's all, he saw a little bit of chocolate or something on my face and tried to wipe it off. His hands were a little wet, and so like a normal human I asked, "Finn, why are your hands wet?" "Are they?" he replied, putting his hand to his face. Then it began. I heard a sizzling sound, and I felt pain like nothing I've ever felt before. My face started going red, and the same thing started happening to Finn. We screamed like we never had before. It was like Satan was melting our face off with his tongue. After about an hour, the pain stopped, and we started to contemplate what had just happened. We decided we deserved a plaque to commemorate the fact that we were the first students to get a chemical burn in our school. But the school refuses to commemorate our achievement. I am the guy that skips leg day every week. My chicken legs are frail and don't like punishment. When I went to the gym today, I was planning for another upper body workout, but last minute decided to do a leg workout. It hurt. My legs were like jello, and I had trouble walking, and even working the gas pedal driving home. I got into a hot shower to ease the pain before lying down to watch a movie before bed. I was feeling a lot better, and before bed I had to go clean the cat's litter box. I had not cleaned it for 2 days, and this 14-pound beast had just pushed out a torrent of hot rear butter among 2 days' worth of landmines. I grabbed my bag and scoop and began to squat down over the box. This was my mistake. My legs quivered once, and my mind was racing with no, 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 no. I knew I had lost control. My legs revolted and time slowed down. In slow motion, I fell forward and landed in the litter box. My cat's recent deposit was still warm and was now on my neck and cheek. I dry heaved, but I managed to keep my dinner down. Frack leg day. So, this happened years ago. I just got on Reddit and thought you all would enjoy. When I was a kid, probably around 13, I was the oldest and, therefore, in charge of cleaning up the house after school before the parents got home. That particular day I noticed after cleaning the furniture in the living room with Pledge that the floors looked a bit dull, so I wanted to shine them up. I was a bit of a neat freak as a kid. Using the wonders of kid logic, I looked at the bottle of Pledge in my hands and said, "Why not? Should work the same, right?" So I got a paper towel and shined the foyer floor with the Swiffer. Came out great, I thought, and my chores were done. So I promptly fracked off to the basement to go play video games. Fast forward to 8 p.m. when my mom got off work. I hear the door open, then a huge boom that shakes the floor, followed immediately by the irate cussing that only a Jamaican woman can create. I came upstairs just in time to see my dad come up right behind her and also slip, fly in the air with his ankles above his head as he fell. I felt bad, but of course, I started laughing. Turns out the shine of the Pledge makes the floor super slick. For the next week, anyone who came over also busted their butts. This happened around 9 years ago, and I still have that post-concert mildly concerning ring in my ears. To preface, I work for a small health science company, which occasionally attains interesting, usually unstudied, new technology. The relevant technology to this story is a gas generation device that creates a water-derived gas that the inventor has yet to identify. It's some state of gaseous hydrogen and oxygen with strange chemical properties, strange to me at least, but I'm not great with chemistry. It has some biomedical uses, apparently, but I'm more fascinated with its behavior when ignited. I ran it through a welding torch, and it burns with an intense, bright purple, weird narrow flame, which ultimately condenses back to liquid water. It seems to be mostly self-reacting, imploding from a gas to a liquid directly. Anyway, the important point to that is it implodes upon ignition. This machine has been sitting unused for a while. Having a reputation as a capable tinkerer, I was tasked with checking its functionality. I got it set up, powered it on, and connected a tiny jeweler's torch to the outline. Unfortunately, the rate at which the gas was produced is much faster than the rate that it can escape the torch head. The gas runs through a big plexiglass tube partially filled with water, for various reasons, and my temporary solution for the buildup of pressure was to leave the lid of this tube somewhat loose. No idea, but I was just testing it briefly. At this point, I spark the torch and get a beautiful little flame. Testing successful. I waited for a minute to make sure it was stable, and then shut off the valve on the torch head really quickly. I had determined in the past that this was an effective shutoff procedure, and it seemed to work safely. There was a usual pop as the gas in the nozzle finished reacting, and then nothing. At this point, I was confident that the risk of implosive flashback was in the past. After a delay of a few seconds, there was a louder pop and a bright flash in the clear section of the line. I think, close call. But I'm not sure how that happened, but at least it didn't reach the plexiglass chamber. I started to consider detaching the torch line, and then I suddenly turned away from the machine with a scary combination of nothing and everything ringing in my ears. According to my coworkers, it sounded like a shotgun. The lid of the tube shot off, and the cylindrical wall snapped clean off the base. By a cruel coincidence, the weekly company meeting was underway in the adjacent room, so I had plenty of alarmed superiors to explain myself to. It went well though, to my relief. I know how carelessly stupid I was, but feel free to reiterate the point in the comments. I plan to be a tad more careful with this stuff in the future. I like my ability to hear things. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed those stories. If you liked them, please force choke that like button and also subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time.